Hey there friends, how's it going? David Potts with Song Notes here, and I have a little quick riff exercise for you I want to talk about today. So I'm playing this finger style. It's a 4-chord, 8-measure sequence. I sort of put it together in between episodes of Yellowstone while I'm watching it with my wife, sort of noodling around on the guitar. Had this little melody in my head, right? Now this is a melody I could be playing with the open chord positions, right? C, da, 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 D minor 7, da, 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 then to G, da, 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 the C, turn it around with C and a G. But I wanted to leave open position. A little bit of slide in there, right? Then to D minor 7 up here, try that out. Then we sort of slide it down to G. But the double stops, I wanted to add those double stops, those rich double stops, where instead of doing this, I'm going to do this, right? Adds so much richness. And even on that first C, right? Lots of cool stuff there. The slides, the syncopation, the double stops, using open position chords, but also using the sort of bar chord alternatives, both for the C, for the G. Instead of playing it open here, you can play it barred up here, or just do a triad, right? I'm going to explain all this in this lesson. It'll be a pretty quick one, but I want to show you the things you can come up with when you're just picking up your guitar, you want to noodle on something, maybe you get a chord progression or a melody in your head, and you want to explore and pull it apart and see what you can put back together in a cool way. That's what I did here, and that's what I'm going to show you in this lesson. I do have this 2-page PDF. This is available on my Patreon page. Those of you who are supporting me already got the email with it. The first page gives you the complete tab for the whole thing with finger position notes and everything. But again, I want to understand the how and the why, right? So on the bottom of page 1, I'll talk about the 3 different chords I'm using and show you the multiple chord positions I'm using for each of those chords. Then on page 2, I'll just tab out the melody along with the chords, without any of the double stops or the rhythm, just to help you understand there are multiple places on the guitar to play any melodic phrase. So all that is in store for this lesson. I hope this is a helpful one for you, just as a little exercise or a little warm-up thing you could do if you want to get a little 8-measure sequence going on here. So thanks to all of you who are supporting me. One more plug for Yellowstone, and thanks to all of you who suggested that show. We really enjoyed it. We watched the whole thing over about 7 weeks, about an episode a day. Really, really enjoyable TV, and the music is great. So I'm going to look into that playlist and maybe do some lessons for some of those songs. Anyway, let's get into this lesson, and I'll see you all on the other side. Let's go. All right, we're zoomed in here. Let's look at this up close. And what I'm going to do is take this full riff you see, and I'm going to break it down to 4 sections, right? The C section, the D minor, the G, and then the ending, the turnaround there. And in each section, I'm going to sort of talk about, how I came up with it, but also how the syncopation works out, and then how I'm using multiple chord positions, right? Not just this open C, but also this C, for example, in these first 2 measures, right? And how I sort of was able to pull the melody out of those multiple chord positions. So as it happened, I'm starting out when I came up with this a few weeks ago. I'm playing, going through this groove. I knew I was in the key of C, and I'm kind of going between this C, D minor 7, G, and back to C. And the first bit of melody that came to my head was, da, 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 right? You could technically play those notes. Da, 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 da. You could play them all on the open position here, meaning my hand is like in or around the C major open chord here, right? Playing the C note right here, then I go up to the E, the D, and back to the C. So that's the melody if you look at it using these open position notes. But I knew I wanted to sort of leave open position and get some sliding in there. I just had this urge. I think I was inspired by the Miranda Lambert song, In His Arms. I actually did a lesson called West Texas Campfire Riff that was inspired by that song. It has some similar slides up to this second position. So what I sort of was thinking was, hey, you look at C major, right? You can play it open like this, but you also can play it in this sort of A-shaped bar chord, right? On the 3rd and 5th fret. This is also a C. So I remember thinking, well, heck, can I if I want to go from this C to this E, instead of using the open string, which I don't want to do, could I just sort of do like a slide, right? Now, my pinky's right here anyway, so I thought, what if I just put my pinky down, right? So C, right? There we go. That's the first part of the melody there. And you kind of see in this tab here, the blue notes represent that I'm in this sort of barred position, but then I return down to the open position, right? Okay, so that's basically the melody I knew I wanted to use. And then the idea of double stops sort of popped into my mind, where why not pull this other 5th fret note right here, right? Because really these 3 notes, these 3 5th fret notes are all coming from the C major chord, this bar chord. So that's basically what I did. I said, I know I want to end up on these 2 notes. These 2 notes are in the C major chord, and can I just slide up? Will it sound good? And that's what a lot of this was like, hey, will this sound good? Try it out. If it sounds good, keep it. I'm not really like thinking theory first. I'm kind of saying, hey, I know what the effect I want to get is. Will this get it? And it does, right? So I'm sort of happy with that, you know. So basically you go from your C, you kind of want to think about putting your ring and your pinky down on the 3rd fret and then just slide them up. And you want to end up on the 5th fret cleanly. Now I know I wanted to come back down. How does that work with the double stops? My first thought was I could do a, right? So go to these 2 5th fret notes, go to this 4th and 3rd fret note, and go to this 1st and open note, back in the open position. This didn't feel right to me though. It sounds fine, it sounds good, but I wanted a bit more tension or something. So I kind of ended up doing this. I kept my ring finger on the 5th fret here, and then I sort of leave my index finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So double stop 1, 5 and 5, 5 and 3, and then go down, slide your index finger down to open and 1. Okay, so those 4 double stops there. Right? 5 and 5, do that twice. 5 and 3 has a bit of tension, but then it resolves to this 0 and 1. Okay, so that is the first part of this whole sequence here. Now, as far as timing, I want to call this out here because the syncopation naturally came into the way I was playing this, right? So I'm playing this with my fingers again. You could pick it, but I'm teaching this with my fingers, so that's how I sort of came up with it. Thumb is on the bass note. Index and middle are on the 3rd and 2nd string. Those are the first 2 notes we're playing, the bass note and then 2nd and 3rd string. Get comfortable with that, just sort of bouncing between them. Now, if you were playing this straight and with no syncopation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you could do it like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But what I wanted to do was sort of bring in the syncopation, meaning, notice the gray lines, that means that on the offbeat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and... We'll mess up there, but see how many of those double stops are happening on the offbeat? What that does is it sort of gives you this nice, I don't know, it sort of propels it along. It's almost like it thought there was an extra step or not a step enough, you know, when you're going up and down the stairs and you kind of get that trip. That's kind of what this is doing. It propels it forward. Okay, so that's what we do for the C here. Now, for the G, or for the D minor 7, I'm going to transition into it by, at the 4 count of the C, I'm going to play this C bass note once, which sort of cleans the palette of the C. And now I knew for this one, I wanted to do another slide, and I knew I wanted to do D minor 7. Now, this is how you play that chord normally. Open, 2nd, 1st, 1st, right? I'm barring the first 2 strings with my index finger, and I got my ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. But, again, I knew I wanted to slide up to something, and I know that you can also play D minor up here, right? 5, 7, 7, 6, 5. But I wanted that 7th flavor, that 7th tone in there. And to do a 7th tone with this chord shape, this bar shape here, you just remove the 3rd string finger. So basically it's going to be 5, 7, 5, 6, 5. So that is a D minor 7. So I was thinking, can I slide up to that? I'm going to start at this C. I'm going to go open 5th string to sort of reset my left hand. And then I'm going to slide up with my index finger. And the reason I'm using my index finger is it sets the rest of these fingers up to go into this D minor 7 position. Okay? If I was to slide up with my ring finger, then these fingers are up here on the 3rd and 4th fret. They're ready for action there, but I'm not where they need to be if I want to get this D minor 7 in place, right? So what I did was ring finger on that 3rd fret, slide with the index finger, and then you put these fingers into a D minor 7 position. And then all the action's happening with your right hand over here, right? Okay, so what we're having there is, this one's kind of just a simple arpeggio or arpeggiation of the D minor chord, like almost like you're playing the notes individually. But what I did was sort of jump from the 5th to 3rd string. Right? This is a 3rd string and 4th string, 5th fret, 7th fret. And then I'm going to go to 2nd to 3rd string. Okay, so that D minor 7. Okay, I'm just sort of doing two note little clusters, but one at a time, right? And I had that little squiggle after the 6 because you're kind of hanging on the 6 for a long time. So if you were doing some lead guitar, you might do some bending on that note, right? I'm not really that good, so or vibrato or whatever it's called. Anyway, now here's the cool part. This part here, I'm going from 7 to 6 to 5, all with the left ring finger, because I knew I wanted to end up on G. Okay, so let's look at this G measure here. Now, again, G can be played right here. You can play it lots of different ways. But you also can play G here, on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th fret. And I know that, right? And I know in this triad that the 4th string is the root, and the 6th string is the root. And for that matter, the 1st string is the root. So we have lots of G's in this chord. So I knew that this triad right here, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings, really nice triad. You can sort of grab it with these 3 fingers if you're doing finger style. This is a G major chord. It's a triad, but it has the 1, the 3, the 5. And this note, this G, notice I was coming up from this D minor. Remember this? So I'm doing this sort of chromatic walk down, 1 half step at a time, and it's all with this finger, which is interesting. I don't recall ever playing a sort of slide down like that, where you kind of you want it to be a broken up slide. You don't want to just, instead you want to step it down, right? Might be tricky at first, but give it some practice. But we end up here. Our left ring is here. We're set up to do some G stuff on this one. Now I knew with the G, the melody I had in my head was. Okay, so starting on the G, and if you're playing it in open position, you could play it, right? But we're not in open position anymore. We're way up here. Not way up here, but 3rd, 4th, and 5th fret. How do I get that same notes? Well, you can just do it. And I know that this is like the 7th tone or the flat 7th tone in the G major scale, and a place my pinkies used to go in. For example, you could play the G, and you could put your pinky here. That's a G7. I just happen to know that shape. So flat 7, 7, 6, 5, right? That's the sort of thing we're doing there. But then I thought, hey, what else can I do to bring in those double stops we're talking about? Now, because I said this is a flat 7th, it's a G7. Another G7 is this purple one up here. 7, 6, 7. I know that's a G7 because I know this is a G, 7, 8, 7. It's one of those like triangle shapes I have memorized, right? You know this is a D. The next one I learned was 7, 8, 7 is a G, and 9, 10, 9 is an A. I remember watching my friend play Free Fallin', I want to ride down over Mulholland. He was playing it like that, and I was like, whoa, he's just playing D, G, D, A. So that's the sort of memory I have that always helps me remember that this is a G, 7, 8, 7. And just like this is a D and this is a D7, same deal up here. 7, 6, 7 is a G7. So I share this because, check this out. If I'm in this G right here, and I want to basically take these 2 notes on the 2nd and 3rd string, they slide up perfectly to this 7 and 6. So this is coming from the G7 triad. So I want to basically get this note and connect it to this note. Or or this double stop and sort of connect it. And I know that in the key of C, again, we have this C major chord right here with this 5 and 5, and I thought maybe I can just use those, okay? So what I'm doing there is left ring right here, pluck the 4th string bass note, pluck 2nd and 3rd string, then slide these 2 fingers up to 7 and 6, come down, and then play. I just bar 5 and 5 with my index finger. Then I go back down to 4 and 3. Okay? Whoops. Let's do it again. I overshoot it sometimes. And that's what we did for the G. And again, it's that same syncopation you have on the first line. You can even see the gray lines are there, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and all those plucks happening on the and count, right? It's that syncopation that drives it forward. Then we come back, we're gonna reset it by just doing a open 5th string to sort of give our left hand a break and then position our hand back into C major open shape here. Now, this last section here, there's no real, we're staying in open position. We're not going up the fretboard. And that first part there, da, 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 da. What that is it's basically a transition from the C to a G. And just one of those things, one of those like songs I learned back in the day was No Woman, No Cry by Bob Marley, right? No woman, no cry. And I learned this version of F, the middle 4-string version, okay? 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Going from C to this is a really good, handy thing to practice, right? And that's all I'm doing here. I'm doing the double stops on the 2nd and 3rd string. Then I'm going to that F position and doing a 3rd and 2nd fret on the 4th and 3rd string. And then staying on the 4th and 3rd string, but just opening it up because I'm in a G now. And after I do the G, I'm going to put my ring finger down on the 3rd fret to establish the low bass note, do that 3rd and 4th string again. And this last little bit here is 3rd, open, hammer on from open to 2nd, open 2nd string, open 3rd string. Practice that though with your left ring finger here. And it's gonna reset at the C. Okay, so that's basically how we're gonna do the whole thing. Oh, the other thing I wanna call out here is the role of silencing the strings. I'm not silencing them with my right hand, but I'm sort of plucking the chords and I'm sort of loosening my fingers up. And I'm sort of folding my hand a little bit like that to just make sure I'm muffling all the strings. I'm going to do that throughout this thing. It punctuates whatever note you play just before it. So check that out. I'll play it really slow. You'll hear it in action. Okay, so there you have it. A little sequence here. I came up with this, again, I just wanted to share it because I was practicing this and it kind of worked its way into my repertoire the last few weeks. Whenever I needed something to do with the guitar, I just really enjoy it. And wanted to share with you how I came up with this. So I have again, the PDF here, 2 pages. It's on my Patreon if you want to get that. It shows you the tab for it with the finger positions, but it also shows you, like I said here, the things with the chords. I want you to understand like where these things are coming from, whether you understand tabs or the fretboard diagrams or the sort of more scale kind of diagrams, and you see the chord positions mapped out there, right? And then on page 2, like I said, I'll show you the melody. If you just wanted to stay in open position chords, I'm showing you how you could play the hummable melody even just in open position. But you also could play the same melody using notes elsewhere on the fretboard. So using some color coding there. Again, it all depends on what kind of learner you are. Like, I'm not presuming that you're going to have the same affinity and like the dots will connect for you for all these visual styles. But that's why I'm showing you a few different ways in case any of it helps, right? But again, hope this is helpful for you. Thanks very much for watching, y'all. And if you want more lessons like this, check out my website, playsongnotes.com. You can look up quick riffs or warm-up exercises or tips and techniques. I have lots of cool stuff there for lessons like this. But I'm going to take off now. And the final plug is if you haven't watched Yellowstone and you looking for a TV show, I recommend it. It's 4 seasons. My wife and I watched it in about 7 weeks. We did about an episode a day. And it's really good. It's kind of, it reminds me of The Sopranos and Game of Thrones, but, in taking place in beautiful rural Montana and just modernization and, all the stuff happening to this family ranch and all the stuff going on there. I don't have to talk about it, but it's a cool show. I'm a big Kevin Costner fan, so I recommend that. I'm going to take off now. Until next time, I'll see you around, and bye-bye.